Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And we're going to get my stupid, ugly mug off of the camera as quickly as possible because Bitcoin, as we speak, is breaking all-time high, and we've got a lot to cover. So without much further ado, let's dive right on into it. Guys, Bitcoin is trading at $109,310, up to a new all-time high. Our previous all-time high here on Bitcoin was right here at $109,371. At the very moment, Bitcoin is roughly $10 above that. A new all-time high has been breached, and tomorrow we are going to be witnessing the golden cross coming in on Bitcoin between the 50 and the 200 simple moving averages. History has been made. We've been telling you for the last 4 months that Bitcoin was going to rally to 109,000, and then it was probably going to teleport to 120. A massive breakout is before us right now, and the fact that we have seen virtually no resistance at the exact level of $109,000 is telling that the sell wall that we are looking at right now is negligible, meaning that in just the next few minutes, we may be watching a massive breakout occur. All-time high was broken roughly 5 minutes ago, which is why we are bringing you this live stream today. Welcome to the stream. If you are new here, my name is Jeb McAfee. I have been watching the Bitcoin market since they were less than $3,000. I have been investing in Bitcoin for almost a decade, and I am extremely excited to bring you another stream where we will be catching and watching an all-time high breakout. This is probably the dozenth time that we've done this, and these are some of my favorite pieces of content. Strap in, stay tuned, because something crazy is about to happen. High likelihood that once we get out of this catchment range under $110,000, we are going to go absolutely ballistic. Welcome to the stream if you're new here. Very excited about this breakout happening on Bitcoin. We're going to go down to the 1 second chart right now and take a look. As you can see here on the 1 second chart, we have a very staunch level of resistance at $109,500. If we are able to break this even $1 above, that means the sell wall has been breached and a new all-time high up to 110 will be likely. We are trading sideways at 105, eating up that liquidity. Liquidity is being annihilated by those bulls that are buying up those longs. Sorry, they're buying up those sell orders. We are going to see an enormous short squeeze. By some estimates, there are over $2 billion worth of shorts that will be getting liquidated if Bitcoin is able to break $109,500. If we break 109.5, those shorts getting liquidated will translate into hundreds of millions of dollars of buying pressure on exchange, which will then likely send Bitcoin to at least $111,000 in the short term. At the moment, Bitcoin is taking a bit of a correction off of 109.5, which is our current new all-time high. Previous all-time high was at 109.326. New all-time high was set roughly 4 minutes ago. You are watching history along with us right now. New all-time high was set roughly 4 minutes ago at $109,500. We are currently watching an attempted breakout above 109.5. At the very moment, we have an uptrending level of support right here that we hope will hold. I'm not convinced it's going to because we've got a stronger downtrending level of resistance. We may see a short-term back test down into the lower 109s. If not, and we rally back up here to 109.5, then we will be building a potentially a kind of a lopsided cup and handle formation. We'll see if that plays out. Not necessarily convinced that it's going to, but the fact that we broke 109 means that over the next 10 to 30 minutes, there is going to be an inpouring of FOMO. Remember, it takes time for news to be disseminated. If you're watching the Crypto Jeb channel, you find out things within a minute of them happening because we went live exactly when this broke out. But for most people that are not subscribed to the Crypto Jeb channel, they are going to not realize this for a little while. They're not going to be looking at their phone. They're going to look at their phone and Coinbase is going to give them an announcement. Their TradingView signal is going to give them an announcement. They're going to get a text from a friend. They're going to have you share this stream with them and they're going to realize that Bitcoin has broke 109.3. It's set a new all-time high and then the FOMO will come in. We are now witnessing the moment, the battle, the decision point in live time right now as to whether or not that prophesied drop down to 94,000 that people have been talking about, or the teleportation to $120,000 is going to come to fruition. We are going to see which happens right now, live on air. Very excited to be here. Going to read a little bit of chat while we watch this chart live. Bitcoin taking a bit of a corrective movement, but we managed to stay up here and hit that resistance hard at 109.5 for a number of minutes. And the current back test, the current corrective movement that Bitcoin is doing looks much shallower than how steep the uptrend is. So I'm confident that in the next hour or so, probably in shorter than that, we will be seeing another test above January 19th and January 20th all-time high, which is this blue line right here. Let's read a little bit of chat. Watch what happens. If this is our rejection, that's okay, because it does mean that with the all-time high broken, we are likely to go up and test it again, even though we only broke $175 above prior all-time high. That's still a very big deal. It's still a very, very, very big deal. All-time high was broken. That's what matters. And so we'll see it. Is this real? Absolutely, it is real. We're watching the live TradingView charts on the 1 second chart. You have to have the ultimate plan or whatever it's called on TradingView to have the 1 second chart. So you got to pay for that, but you get to see it right here, live on air. And I'm not switching off of this screen anytime soon. We're going to be reading chat on our phone and going from there. Might have to grab a phone charger for my phone here in a second, but we're going to watch it live. All right, let's see. Let's go, Mike Lowry said. Kryptoni said, let's flip and go. Jose Vega said, let's go. Blasnik said, let's go. So we've got a current back test going on right here. Here, sweetie, I can plug that into my computer. Thank you, baby. Let's go ahead and get the phone charging so we don't have to switch off of this screen. Thank you to the wifey for helping with that. Thank you, Sarah. Big shout out to my better half. Supports everything behind the scenes with the channel and life in general. See if we're charging. We charging? No. That's all right. We'll figure that out. Anyway, Bitcoin's currently hovering down here around $108,000 to $109,000. We are watching one of the most significant points in the history of the Bitcoin market play out right now. There we go. We're charging. Yep, got it. Thank you, sweetheart. All right. Oh, man. This is one of those moments where you want to craft a narrative. You want to have a story, but honestly, it's better just to watch because it's just so exciting. What I see right now, do you see what I see? I see the possibility of a rising wedge forming here. There is also the possibility, and we'll point this out, of a head and shoulders pattern. Bitcoin could do that. We could drop. And you know what? If we do, that's fine. Because guess what? We already got what we came for. We already got what we came for. Why don't you get more monitors? I need to get more monitors. You're right. I ought to put a big monitor right there. I have, you guys know I have like 12 computer monitors. There's a 4K monitor sitting right there. All I got to do is plug it in. I really ought to do that. I've got like 8 desktop computers. I've got so many computers, you know, because we've downsized our team a lot because we just didn't need all the overhead. But I kept all the computers. So got plenty of computers, plenty of monitors. Probably should do that. Let's read a little bit of chat here. 140K incoming. I think so. Once we break through 109.5, that seems to be where the sell wall is, which makes sense. For any of you guys that have been watching the Crypto Jeb content here for the last, I don't know, nearly a decade, right? You will understand the idea of big evens. $109,500 is where a lot of sell orders were placed. A lot of people were taking profits there. And that's understandable. You know, that is understandable. A lot of these people that are taking profits right now bought in at 74, bought in at 75. They made a 50% return. Let them take their profits. But profit taking is not going to stop this train. The fundamental forces behind this rally are enormous. And so as we watch here, until Bitcoin gives us something a little bit more interesting to talk about in the short term, we're going to talk about why a break above $109,500 is a foregone conclusion. The previous all-time high was $109,326 on Coinbase. That is this blue line right here. I'll go ahead and draw some text on it. This was our previous all-time high. Let's make this 40. And let's see if we can put that on the top and put it off to the left. There we go. That's our previous all-time high. Boom. There you go. This right here is our current all-time high. Mark up the chart. I'm colorblind, so I foolishly think those are the same green. Oh, wait, they are the same green. Who wants to make fun of me in chat? Go ahead. We'll put that over on the right. Boom. There you go. Oh, here's that rally. We're coming. We're coming for it. Got some more jet fuel. People had to load up their bags a little bit lower. They wanted to see 109,000 for one last time in history. Let's talk a little bit about why $109,000, 109.5 being broken is a foregone conclusion, and why there's a chance we might see it in, I don't know, the next 20 seconds or so. We'll see. Here's the reason. There is a global financial crisis brewing, and it all starts with the Bank of Japan. Yeah, what the hell does the BOJ and the Japanese yen have to do with Bitcoin? There was news last night that the Japanese yen, the Japanese bonds, their rates approached about 3.6%. For anyone who knows anything about the bond market, you will know that Japanese yen and the Japanese bonds have had some of the lowest rates in history. After the COVID-19 pandemic, debt started spiraling out of control. Japanese debt to GDP ratio, I almost said debt to income ratio. That's the same ratio just for an individual. Debt to GDP ratio in Japan. By the way, you're like, Jeb, what does this have to do with this chart? We're watching it. I'll shut up if something crazy happens. We are actually right now breaking back up above previous all-time high, which means a test of 109.5 is likely, which means that there is a great possibility that we are in the middle of building a cup and handle formation, which could lead to a breakout in about, 3 minutes. So we're going to watch that. The Japanese bond market is spiking very quickly. And if we were able to click off of the screen, I would show you, but I'll have to describe it. Since 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic happened, we have seen Japanese bond yields increase from about 0.2% to 3.5%. They're up 30 basis points in the last week. The reason that this is occurring is because people are becoming far less confident that the Bank of Japan is ever going to be able to pay back the buyers of the bonds. And so if the risk increases, then you demand a higher interest rate to even be willing to buy the thing. It's an auction, more or less. We're not going to buy your bonds unless you pay higher rates because we don't trust your debt as much because we think you're going to default. And so when the bond rate goes up, that signals that people do not trust the fiat currency that backs that bond anymore. The Japanese yen is about to implode. It is going to go through a slow motion implosion over the next half of a decade. That is going to be a shockwave that is heard around the world, as Japan is I believe the fourth largest economy after, might be the fifth. It's either the fourth or the fifth largest economy, a GDP of $4.2 trillion. That is going to be a shockwave heard around the world, and it will go down in the history books as one of the early warning signs of global fiat currency collapse. We're seeing the exact same thing happen on the U.S. bonds. U.S. Treasury bonds are approaching 5%. They are in parity with the highest highs that we have seen on bond yields in the last 25 years, so far this century. The reason that that's important is because if the Japanese yen collapses and the United States dollar collapses, then you have only one place to run to, and that's Bitcoin. That's kind of the overarching story, but let me break it down a little bit so you understand what I'm saying. A bond, specifically a treasury bond, otherwise known as a U.S. Treasury or a Japanese Treasury, is a loan that the government takes out from a creditor. Generally, it's the investing public, and they pay them a yield to finance deficit spending. The United States federal government takes in, give or take $3.5 trillion, spends, give or take $5.5 trillion, about a $2 trillion deficit, give or take. It changes. When they have deficit spending, they have to finance those bonds. By the way, we're looking at that cup and handle formation that I talked about building right now. When they have that deficit spending, they have to issue bonds to finance the deficit spending. It's a little bit like this. You are bringing in $5,000 a month in income. You're spending $6,000 a month in income, so you go an extra $1,000 a month in credit card debt. Well, the issue, and this is the real concern, the issue here is that as you go more in debt, your interest payment on the debt balloons. Over the last 5 years, U.S. interest payments to finance the debt has grown from $350 billion to $1.2 trillion, approaching 1/3 of all government revenues. Nearly 1/3 of all U.S. government revenues are going to financing $36 trillion of debt. The issue is, as the debt gets larger, as the debt to GDP ratio gets worse, and as you see less and less people interested in buying treasuries, especially 30 and 40-year treasuries, because they believe 30 and 40 years out, they won't get the money back. The treasuries will default. The treasury will have to default on its debt obligations. Then the interest rate spikes. Well, when the interest rate spikes, the cost of capital increases dramatically for the U.S. government, which means now you're not looking at 30%. You're looking at 40%, 50%, 60% of the interest payment ratio to tax income ratio. This leads to runaway debt increase. You have to hike the debt ceiling, and you see 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, $100 trillion in U.S. debt. At that point in time, when you start going in the direction of Japan, which we are, then you do not have the ability to raise capital anymore. And there's only one way to finance deficit spending, and that is by the printing of the currency. You have to literally print money out of thin air to finance the deficit spending. This is the moment of truth right here. Are we going to hold this uptrend? I'm not sure, because we got a downtrend here. Not sure we're going to. This is the moment. This is the decision point. If you're looking at buying Bitcoin, now's the time. Be part of the movement here. We're setting support in here at 109,000. What I'm telling you, by the way, is the most important piece of financial and economic literacy that you will receive this century. There is nothing more important to the investor than what I am describing here with currency collapse. And it's coming faster than you think it is. Coming a lot faster than you think it is. We more or less held $100,000 here. Very possible that we're building a kind of wonky inverse head and shoulders pattern or a bit of a wonky cup and handle formation. We're also building, as you can see, a symmetrical triangle pattern, which we did that a few days ago. We built a symmetrical triangle pattern right here, as you can see. And we have one of these classic, we kind of broke bullish, but not really, and then we broke bullish, right? And that kind of thing could happen here. We could rally up to like 110, reject there, back test down to 109, then rally up to 120. Big things are coming. Okay, so far we've described how a lack of trust in a fiat currency means that the people buying bonds want to be paid more because the risk of them never seeing their principal again increases. If you don't trust a fiat currency, if you don't trust a central bank, you're going to demand more interest for the bond because you're not sure if you're ever going to get your money back, which drives bond prices up, which drives the interest rate up, which drives the cost of acquiring capital up for the government, which leads to more deficit spending, and it's a runaway debt snowball in the wrong direction. Not Dave Ramsey debt snowball in the wrong direction. Right? This snowball's rolling uphill because everything's backwards when you do everything with debt. Debt is very stupid. Have you heard somebody say that recently? Have you heard somebody say that debt is stupid? And you got all these people thinking, oh, we'll just take out debt and buy Bitcoin. Okay, yeah, you be part of the problem. You just don't realize that your punishment is 30 years out. The U.S. federal government's punishment is in the next 5 years. It'll still come for you, too. You're still being silly. You're just outrunning the United States government's level of stupidity. Okay, so if we're seeing the interest payment on the debt skyrocket, this is another moment of truth we held here, and we have bullish RSI divergence here, almost certainly. Let's see. Oh, not bullish RSI divergence, but we do have an uptrend on the RSI. That's great. Briefly broke this, testing previous all-time high again. If we get up here a third time, that's a big piece of news. We could be about to break 109.5, our current level of resistance. There's only two ways out of this for a central bank, for a central government. One, continue issuing bonds, continue paying 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30% on the bond, where the person loaning you the money gets all their money back in 3 years at 33%, or in 4 years at 25%, or in 5 years at 20%. At which point in time, to finance that amount of debt, the interest payment on the debt would be greater than all tax revenues, and you have effectively collapsed the economy. And you have to completely destroy the fiat currency, and you have to start over with a new one. You have to default on your debt, which brings down America and brings down all of the creditors, and it means that America loses its world reserve currency status. This is the end of American hegemony as we know it. Jeb, this is nonsense. That could never happen. Oh, it can, and oh, it will. If Doge and Trump do not balance the budget, or the next administration, we've got probably until about 2035 to figure this out as the American people, or the United States dollar goes kaputs, and every single one of you that's not in Bitcoin or gold, mainly in Bitcoin, is screwed. Why does this matter for Bitcoin? Well, there's $300 trillion invested in bonds. $300 trillion invested in bonds. All of that money has to find a new home, because the most secure treasury bond, the U.S. treasuries, are not sustainable anymore. They are not the zero risk investment that they used to be. We just broke that downtrending level of resistance, coming back up to the previous all-time high of 109,326. See if we can break it. Moment of truth. Come on, Bitcoin. You can do it. You can do it. Come on. Bounce off of the support. Let's see it. 50-second moving average. Can we bounce off of the 50-second moving average? Come on. Look at those flat lines. That means the bulls and the bears are at war. I don't like what I'm seeing right now. Come on, Bitcoin. You can do better than this. Nope. Okay. To finance the debt, you end up running into one of two situations. Either the government has to continue taking out insanely high interest rate debt that will bankrupt them, and they won't be able to take out the debt eventually. Or you have to have the brakes slammed on government expenditure, which means Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and military spending, to name a few, stop within a period of 12 months. They go from full on to non-existent within 12 months. If you're relying on Social Security to retire and you're under the age of you're under the age of, I'd say, probably 55, there's a very high likelihood that Social Security is going to go bankrupt. There's a very high likelihood that Social Security will cease to function along with every other part of the fiat economy. This is the end of the financial world as we know it. This is financial Armageddon. This is every single financial planner's worst nightmare. Everything is on fire and there's no way to put it out because the currency that you based everything on is dead. This is Weimar Germany. This is Venezuela. But this is the most powerful economy on planet Earth, which is the United States. This is the end of the United States hegemony if we're not careful. But there is a way out. There is a way out. There is good news. And it is Bitcoin. $300 trillion worth of bonds consider fiat and central bank treasuries to be the zero-risk safe haven where you can get a low but guaranteed yield. All of that money has to find a new home. All of that money has to find a new home because none of it is going to want to be invested in bonds anymore. At least half of it will disappear from the bond market because people that are buying bonds buy bonds for one reason. They don't buy it for return. They buy it for one reason, and that is because of its low risk. If they do not trust the good faith and credit of the United States federal government, they're not going to trust the good faith and credit of any other fiat currency in the world, save maybe the Swiss franc. Switzerland gets extremely rich in this situation because they have the least debt. And they've got to park that money somewhere. Well, they don't want to park it in bonds because they don't trust the fiat currency. And they don't want to leave it in cash because, were you listening, they don't trust cash. When trust in the fiat system collapses, there is only a couple of places to go. There's Bitcoin, there's gold and other commodities, and there's real estate. Well, the issue with real estate is that real estate is a bubble as well. Nobody can afford real estate. And if you dump $100 trillion into the real estate market, it will become so unaffordable that the supply is going to dry up and you'll see an economic crash. It's not a great place to put your money in a bubble, in a fiat bubble. Real estate's better than nothing, but it's not the safe haven that people think bonds are. That really leaves Bitcoin and gold. Well, what about gold? What about gold? Gold will see an influx of money. Gold will be, mark my words, you can write it down, by 2040, gold will be worth over $100 trillion unless we have seen a complete revolution where people don't trust gold at all anymore and they're only in Bitcoin. Unless the world goes purely to Bitcoin and demonetizes gold where it goes down to its industrial base value, which is probably $8 trillion at most, unless that happens, gold goes to $100 trillion. In that world, where you're looking at a future value of $1 quadrillion worth of bonds leaving the bond market, where does $100 quadrillion go as a safe haven? The best place for it to go is Bitcoin. The best place for it to go is Bitcoin. Do you understand that Bitcoin is taking the place of the global bond market? The collapse of global bonds necessitates the growth of Bitcoin. So I've given you a lot of background information. Let me make this really, really simple. If you haven't been listening so far because it's too complex, I'll make this very simple. Bonds are considered the safest place to park your money. They, in the next 10 years, will no longer be considered safe. Where do people put money to keep it safe now? There's one place, and it is Bitcoin. Those of you that understand that will realize the next thing I'm about to say is also true. In the era of collapsing fiat currency, oh, Jeb, that's never going to happen. It's already happening. We've seen 50% inflation on the US dollar in the last 5 years. Nobody can afford to buy a house anymore on an average American income. Nobody can afford to go to college anymore on an average American income. Groceries are double the price. Fiat collapse is already happening. This is not something that's going to happen in the future. It's happening as we speak. It's happening right now. The ground is moving beneath your feet. You're the frog in the frying pan, and you don't realize you're being boiled. Listen. The fiat economy is collapsing as we speak. This is not a hypothetical out in the future. It's happening right now. Interest payments for U.S. debt have quadrupled in 2 years. The United States dollar is in the early stages of dying. The Japanese yen is in the early stages, slightly further along stages, of collapsing. A high-ranking official in Japan just said that Japan's economic situation is worse than Greece's. This has already happened in Greece. This has already happened in Venezuela. This already happened in post-World War I Weimar Germany. This has happened hundreds of times throughout history. You've got to understand the wisdom and the writing on the wall of what's coming. There's one truth here that you need to keep in mind, and that is that very simply, any wealth, monetary wealth, that you have in anything other than a finite asset like Bitcoin or gold, although Bitcoin is far better, any asset that you have in any of those investments that is not Bitcoin is going to nearly go to zero. This is not going to be the end of the world as we know it. It is going to be the end of the financial world as we know it. This is the global flood. Metaphorically speaking, this is Noah's flood. And everything and everybody and every living organism in the financial world that is not on that ark drowns. Your home equity is not going to save you in this. Your stock investments are not going to save you in this. Everything that is not on the ark drowns. There is a new world that will emerge out of the financial ashes of the collapse of fiat currency in 30 to 40 to 50 years. And that world will be built, hopefully, on hard money. If it's not built on hard money, it's built on military and tyrannical force, and democracy as we know it ceases to function. Because without a functioning economy, you don't have class mobility. You had better hope that the world adopts Bitcoin. If you're 65 and you're 70 years old watching all this right now, you don't need to care, but you ought to care for your kids. You ought to care for your grandkids. Because it's coming. Clock's up. Stupid only pays for so long. And every single one of our governments, every single person watching this video, every last one of you, and myself included, have voted for politicians and been ruled by politicians that were dumb enough to believe that the rules work different for government. No, government's just bigger, so the stupid catches up slower. If you run a deficit for long enough, you will drive off a cliff. It is a guaranteed fact of life. It does not change. Proverbs 126, wisdom says, I will laugh when your calamity cometh. I will laugh when your calamity cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind. When distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but they shall not find me. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and would not choose the fear of the Lord. Here's what it says a couple verses later. The prosperity of fools shall destroy them. The prosperity of the foolish United States government who thought that they could run deficit spending. The foolish Japanese government who thought that they could run deficit spending. The foolish Greek government. The foolish British government. The foolish European Union government. The foolish government of every single nation that has its own currency, fiat currency. The prosperity of those fools shall destroy them because they thought they were above wisdom and they're not. Wisdom wins in the end every time. And wisdom states you cannot spend more than you bring in and do that forever. Eventually, you will drive off a cliff. Eventually, you will cease to function as a modern economy. So whether or not Bitcoin breaks above 109.5 right now, or breaks above 109.5 in a week, or breaks above 109.5 in 2 years, I don't care. Because Bitcoin's going to $1 million to start with. And then Bitcoin's going to go to $10 million. And it's not going to really feel like it buys much more. Oh, here comes a big drop. Love it. Let's see. Here we go. Bitcoin dropped down from 108,900 down to 108,500. Oh my goodness. Let's read a little bit of chat while we watch this. Bitcoin dropping down. A lot of people taking profits. It's okay. It's okay. If you have a home, at least you have a home. That's true. It is better than nothing. Some of you understand why I'm so passionate about this. People are saying, oh, he's shouting. Petro King said he's shouting because people aren't realizing. Wisdom crieth from the rooftops. Let me read it to you. I am telling you what's going to happen, and I'm begging you for listening to me. To listen to me. Proverbs 120. Wisdom crieth without. Please listen. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you, because I have called, and you refuse. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But you have said it not all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind. When distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. Friends, you have a choice right now. You can listen to what I'm saying and realize that there's no way out of it, and make a decision today to prepare yourself for what is coming. Or the prosperity of you, thou fool, will destroy you. I love you enough to tell you what's coming. I also love you enough to tell you how to prepare for it. It's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you to do something about it. Get to 0.1 Bitcoin. Get to 0.25 Bitcoin. Get to half a Bitcoin. Get there. Get wisdom first. Wisdom is more valuable than rubies and silver and gold and Bitcoin. But wisdom states that currencies that are based on the will of man rather than the laws of nature fail. Fiat currency is not a naturally occurring thing. Scarcity is a naturally occurring thing. Gold, which is scarce, is naturally occurring. The United States dollar is not naturally occurring. It has no scarcity. It does not follow the basic laws of money, and therefore it will die eventually. The United States dollar will die. And here's the good news. Here is the good news. The good news is this fiat currency collapse would probably lead to overall economic failure, which would probably lead to a famine that would lead to 1 billion deaths. Jeb, you're being really, really freaky right now. I know. If the currency faileth, what generally happens throughout history? A famine. Go back to Genesis in the 30s, right? The 30s chapter, when Joseph is there in Pharaoh. What happened? The currency faileth as a famine's going on. Why? Because if you don't have an ability to transact, then you don't have an ability to sell money, to sell grain, and people don't do things unless they get paid for it. People don't put food in the ground just out of the goodness of their heart. They do it because they get paid. But if there's nothing to pay them in, they don't plant. And you have a global food shortage. This is real stuff. And this is really coming. Unless the United States government and governments around the world stop deficit spending, it will be the end of the modern economy. But the good news is, if the United States government adopts a Bitcoin standard, if a lot of companies adopt a Bitcoin standard, if you adopt a Bitcoin standard, if we start transitioning right now away from considering bonds to be the safe haven that they're not, and we start transitioning into seeing Bitcoin and gold, mainly Bitcoin though, as the safe haven that they are, then that is where we will find safety. And that is where the collapse of the fiat economy might not be as dire as it would otherwise be. Because what happens when a fiat currency collapses? Everybody starts using a different currency. Well, if there's not an alternative currency, you're just screwed. But if there is an alternative currency and people can say, all right, last year we dealt in dollars, this year we're dealing in Bitcoin, then that smooths things out a lot. Do you understand what I'm saying? The collapse of fiat will lead to a famine that people could die from. Having an alternative currency ready to go when that day comes, because it is coming, can save lives. I can't put it any more simply. Bitcoin, being a hedge against fiat currency, can literally save lives. This is a big deal. This is extremely important. It's hard for it to be more important. There are a few things more important than this, but not many. The die is cast. Rate it and prepare. Because the foolishness that we individuals, by running deficits in our own personal finances, and governments around the world have run, the foolishness that governments have done of running deficits around the world, that bill is going to come due. And it's going to be really, really, really bad. Really bad. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and gold shall not be able to deliver them from the day of wrath of the Lord. Yep, that's right. That's absolutely right. Your silver, Bitcoin, gold will not save you from Jesus Christ's second coming. You must repent and give your life to the Lord Christ. But Bitcoin can save you from the financial crash that's coming in the next 20 to 30 years. Bitcoin can save you from that. It can't save you in the day of wrath against the wrath of God on your sin. But what it can do is it can save you from the financial Armageddon that's on the horizon. There are two Armageddons coming. The true Armageddon, the second coming of Christ and the destruction of the world. Only belief in Christ can save you from that. And probably before that, we're going to watch the fiat currencies of the world completely collapse. The currency is going to fail. And Bitcoin can help save you from that. Give your life to Christ. After that, buy some Bitcoin. You know, love your family before you buy Bitcoin too. I mean, there's a lot of things you got to get right in your life. Not just you, but me too. But buying Bitcoin, I do believe, should be a part of it. And by the way, if any of you are listening, and some of you are pastors, I know some of you are, consider prayerfully starting a strategic Bitcoin reserve for your church. Prayerfully consider it. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But when you see the writing on the wall, consider what Joseph did, what God told Joseph to do. To instruct Pharaoh to set back and store 20% of all crop for 5 years to prepare for the famine. Consider that a famine is on the horizon. All economic signs are pointing towards it. Consider setting aside some investment for savings for when the day of wrath comes upon the stupid governments who thought they could run deficit spending the way that they have. Consider it. I'm not telling you to. That would not be my place, but I will tell you to consider it. Let's read some chat. Let's see. Jeb should be more famous than he is. I don't care about fame. I just want you guys to understand what's coming and be ready for it. The mind is everything. What you think you become. Word of God. Yep. Amen, brother. But try bartering. Yeah, bartering doesn't really work when you have 8 billion people on the planet and you're trying to do international trade. It's kind of hard to say, oh yeah, I'll pay you with a cow, person who's 8,000 miles away. Doesn't work that well. I've been buying $35 of Bitcoin weekly for the last 5.5 years. That's not counting any extra purchases. Good for you, Sundown Ada. Dave Ramsey Jr. I really would not be surprised if that's what ends up happening. I have no idea. I would never esteem myself to be anything like the great Dave Ramsey. I will say, though, that he's dead wrong on Bitcoin. And he's painfully wrong. And he's smart enough and wise enough. I wish he saw it. I wish he saw it. Saving money and being more frugal, these things are important. And we should not discount those. But it's not enough anymore. The currency's collapsing. It's not just people's foolishness that's keeping them broke. It's the collapse of the currency. It's the spending in Washington that's doing it. You are having your wealth stolen at a record rate. You work 40 years for your wealth. And in 5 years, the federal government raises the debt by 33%. And 15 years of your labor is gone. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Stupid only pays for so long. The path to hell feels like heaven, and the path to heaven feels like hell. The issue is, we elect politicians based on how they can make us feel like it's heaven in the next 6 weeks. And so generally that means that they are incentivized to make short-term decisions. I'm not a monarchist, I'm not a dictatorist, but I will say that that is one of the pitfalls of democracy. I prefer a democratic environment, to be totally, absolutely, abundantly clear. There's only one person in all of creation that is fit to be king, and that is Jesus. But when you have a democratic system, again, it's the best system, but this is a pitfall of it. You elect people based on what they're going to do in the next 2 years, and generally speaking, they pull from the next 20 years to finance the next 2 years. They say, we're going to raise entitlements, not realizing it's going to accelerate the destruction of the United States dollar. When is that collapse coming? Before 2050. Most likely. I mean, unless we have a massive, all hands on deck effort to bring the deficit spending of the United States dollar under control, you're going to see the collapse of the United States dollar. Dave doesn't like gold either. I know he doesn't. Oh my goodness. Dave Ramsey will never admit he's wrong, yet now his co-hosts has come out in their show and say they're now admitting diversifying into Bitcoin is a good idea. What a time to be alive. Yeah, that was, gosh, I keep forgetting his name. Ken Coleman. Ken Coleman said that on a video about 2 months ago. I saw that video before that video blew up and got really famous. I was like, whoa, look at that. They said it. Finally. How many years did it take for this to play out? Oh, well, let's, here. I'll go to my X account and I'll kind of give you an example. I'll show you. I posted something on X. My X, you guys should follow it. I post amazing stuff over there. See if I can find it. Here, this chart. Excuse me. U.S. deficit revenue and debt since 1981. The national debt has increased drastically under every recent president, regardless of political party. You can see the national debt, ever since Trump took office in 2016, has grown from $20 trillion to $36 trillion. This is insane. Revenues have grown. The deficit has shrunk to some degree, and it needs to, but the deficit is still large. If you go to debt clock, which is basically the doomsday clock, U.S. debt clock. If you go to the U.S. debt clock, I have been watching this website since I was in 7th grade. I remember going to this website when I was 11, and this was $16 trillion in debt. My history teacher, Mr. A, I won't say his full name because I don't want to slander him, but Mr. A, I remember his name. He asked the class, how much debt is the United States government in? I raised my hand, I said $16 trillion. Let's go back to a time machine. This was about 2012. You can see right there, $16 trillion. I remember it like it was yesterday. This is 13 years ago. And he said, no, you're wrong, it's $2 trillion. And I was like, wait, what? So I went home and checked it. No, I was right. He was wrong. He didn't know. He was the history and the civics teacher. He didn't realize. Most people don't. $15 trillion in debt. Oh, wait a minute. That was 2012. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now it's at $36 trillion, $800 billion. U.S. federal tax revenue is $5 trillion. We have excise tax, which is basically, this is not exactly tariffs, but kind of. About 100 billion. Future tariff revenues, Trump is estimating about 600 billion. That's great. That's awesome. Love to bring the deficit down. U.S. federal budget deficit is now at $2 trillion. If we do not close this gap and reverse it into a surplus, and every single freaking dime of the surplus goes into paying down the debt, we don't have money to build stuff, guys. We're broke. We're screwed. You can see the interest on the debt is $1 trillion a year. The deficit is $2 trillion a year. Doge says it's going to save $450 billion a year, but the Congress won't vote on it to solidify it. This is bad. This is really, 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 really bad. Runaway debt is a problem. People think that we can print our way out of it, and you can't. You can't outrun stupid. It catches up with you every time. You cannot outrun stupid. It catches up with you every time. The only thing that you can do is cling on to wisdom. She is more precious than rubies. All the things thou canst desire not to be compared unto her. She is more valuable than rubies. She's more valuable than gold. She's more valuable than silver. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand, long life and peace. Riches and honor are in her right hand, and in her left hand, riches, long life and peace, right? We have to choose wisdom. This is not wise. We are supposed to have wise leaders. This is stupid. We don't have money to build the Golden Dome. We don't have money to increase the military budget up to $1 trillion. We don't have money to do any of this. The single most important policy decision in Washington right now must be the reversal of the debt, because if you have the collapse of the United States dollar, you don't have a military anymore. Social Security turns off. Old people starve. You don't have Medicare, Medicaid anymore. People with illnesses and disease that need health insurance, the doctors don't go to work anymore. This is the single most important policy problem on Capitol Hill today. It is the single most important issue in American politics. You might be able to find one or two things that are more important, but not many. This is extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous. Raising taxes isn't going to fix it. Raising tariffs isn't going to fix it. The only thing that's going to fix it is elimination of fraud and waste and lowering entitlements. The issue is nobody gets into office saying, I'm going to cut Social Security in half. Nobody gets into office saying, I'm going to cut Medicaid and Medicare. Nobody gets into office doing that. Because they don't want to do it. And it's understandable. If we could afford it, those are great programs. You got to start cutting somewhere. You got to choose where. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. If it doesn't get fixed, and honestly, this term is probably the term where we're going to understand whether it's going to change or not. We're in a lot of danger. A lot of danger. Because, by the way, this chart right here, this chart might as well track the inflation of the dollar. As the U.S. goes into more debt, the inflation of the dollar more or less runs in tandem with it. Extremely dangerous. There's one way out. Bitcoin. When I reposted this, I said, catastrophic annihilation of fiat currency underway. Prepare accordingly. I said, bond buying will dry up within a decade as investors realize bonds are no longer the safe haven they once were. Investing in fiat is stupid and more people are realizing it. They will go to gold and Bitcoin, then gold will go to Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. The world must have a new, quote, safe haven, quote, zero risk investment, which is what people consider bonds to be. The day of that being U.S. Treasuries is over. The day of it being Bitcoin is coming. I bet our family's financial future on this. Have you? I also said, I cannot stress this enough. If Congress does not balance the budget, the United States dollar will cease to be a functional currency within 30 years. If you don't own Bitcoin in this highly probable vision of the future, you are screwed. A flood is coming and you can only keep what you put on the ark. Bitcoin is the financial ark that will weather the storm. What do you think? Am I wrong? Am I right? What do you think? Look at the chart a little bit more. It doesn't look like a new major all-time high is going to be coming right now. But I do think it's coming soon. I think Bitcoin's trying to establish a new baseline, uptrending level of support. We are still setting higher highs. We're in a bit of a bull flag here, so we're probably going to wrap it out pretty soon, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin goes through a new breakout pretty soon. If it does, then we will probably talk about that pretty soon. Is Bitcoin God's money? I would never claim that. I would never say that because the Bible doesn't say that. What I will say is that I do believe Bitcoin aligns more so with God's principles than fiat currencies do. Because it's based in sound money, it's based in wisdom, it's based in scarcity, it's based in not using debt. I'm not a fan of these big companies taking out a bunch of debt to buy Bitcoin. They're just creating another bubble. They're doing it because they're making more money doing it that way, and they are making more money doing it that way, but it contributes to the problem spiritually in the world, which is debt. Debt is an issue that the world needs to be saved from. Going into more debt to solve the issue of debt is not the solution. It's part of the problem. Right? As much as I love MicroStrategy, I have met Saylor personally. I have interviewed him. There's an interview on the channel. I love talking to him. Great guy. Look forward to seeing him at Bitcoin 2025 if I can find him. But not a big fan of debt at all. Because if it wasn't for me being a Christian and me understanding that debt is a spiritual problem to be eliminated from the face of the earth, because there will not be debt in heaven. There won't be. It's not there. You're not going to go, thou believer, you're not going to go to the bank in heaven and borrow money. Doesn't happen. Because forgiveness eliminates all debt. Right? There's no debt in heaven, so therefore I don't like debt being on earth. We do not go into more debt. If I was not a Christian, I'd go and take out $1 million loan right now and I'd buy Bitcoin with every single penny of it, and I'd do everything I could to finance the interest payment on that until Bitcoin just went freaking bananas. I'd do that. If it weren't for me being a Christian and understanding the spiritual implications of debt, I might do that. But there's nothing that I can find biblically that is wise about debt, and I can understand why, because it ends up in this situation where the person taking out the debt always ends up collapsing and failing. And so that is why I think it's foolishness to go into debt, because I understand the long-term picture because of the way the scriptures talk about it. Yeah, I would never say that Bitcoin is God's money. That would be I would edge on the side of saying that'd be blasphemous because the Bible doesn't say that. I do, however, think that it aligns more so with God's wisdom. Jeb, how did all the animals fit on the ark? Great question. So you don't need a zebra and a horse and a donkey and a mule. You don't need every single one of those animals to fit on the ark. You only need one horse-like creature. You don't need a polar bear and a black bear and a brown bear and a grizzly bear and a panda bear to fit on the ark. You only need one bear-like creature. You only need one of each genus to fit on the ark. And you also only need animals that have a breath of life in their nostrils, is what the Bible says. So you don't need the fish on the ark. You don't need a bunch of insects on the ark. You have more or less reptiles, amphibians, and mammals on the ark. And you have one of every kind. The word kind is the same word for genus. You don't have 500 different kinds of dogs, so 1,000 dogs, 2 of each kind of dog. No, you have a wolf and maybe a dog. And when you get it down to that, there's less than 1,000 animals on the ark. That's how. And let's not forget that this was miraculous. I mean, my goodness, it takes a miracle to flood the whole earth and then dry it up within a year. So, yeah. Can it happen? Did it happen? Yeah, it did. Sure did. All-time high, $109,057. Interesting. Where did that happen? $57 on Coinbase. It topped out at exactly 109. Which chart did it hit? 109.5. That's exciting. Okay, not Bitfinex. Did it do that on one chart? Not here. It hit 109.5 there. Not Bitstamp. What about maybe the index? What about BTC USD on Binance? Let's look at Binance. Where are you seeing that 57? Because I don't see that. Because that's important. That extra $57 is important because that means somewhere it happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just curious where it did. Is that what CoinGecko said? Okay. Is now the good time to buy Bitcoin or is the best time to wait? Guys, I'm buying Bitcoin all over the place. As soon as I have access to capital, I'm buying Bitcoin. I don't give a rat's rip. Rat's behind. I don't give a crap. I don't care where I buy it. I'm buying it because one day it's gonna be $1 million. Although what I will say is that I raced to buy as much Bitcoin as I could before we hit $100,000. You can ask my wife. Multiple times a day I was on our exchange buying Bitcoin. And then, right? Am I wrong? I'm just constantly buying Bitcoin. She's like, okay, sweetie, you know what you're doing. Before Bitcoin broke above 105, I was like, Bitcoin after it breaks 105 is going straight to 109. Again, conversations with the wife, right? Right there. After Bitcoin breaks 105, we're going straight to 109. What happened? After we broke 105, went straight to 109. I raced to get as much as I could before 100, and then I raced to get as much as I could before 105 because I saw this coming. Every single purchase, and we've put a lot of money into Bitcoin recently. Every single purchase we've made in the last 2 months is in profit. Every last one of them, because we're sitting at $109,000, and I don't think that's done. I really don't. Personally, I don't think that's done. I do not think that's done. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a new all-time high break here. I'd love to see it. You know, we're in a bull flag. Bull flag right here. Downtrend, absolutely beautiful downtrend. Broke bullish out of it. Setting new local highs. If we end up having a bull flag break bullish here, then what we will likely see would be a price target of roughly $110,800. That would break 109.5, which means the sell wall is gone, which means you're in price discovery mode, which means you're probably hitting 120 by nightfall. Exciting. Exciting. We touched all-time high. We did it. So now you have to ask yourself the question, with everything that's happened in the last 3 months, does it really make sense for Bitcoin to just double top? I don't think so. People are kind of freaked out right now because Bitcoin is in a very similar boat that it was in back here. Massive rally, hit all-time high again, and that was that. This was a different situation. Currency collapse was not on the horizon. We did not have fundamentals growing here. Fundamentals peaked here, and we're getting more boring by this point in time. Right now, the fundamentals are way more interesting right now than they were back here. This was exciting. This is revolutionary. The fundamentals have grown. At this point in time, fundamental and interest and adoption, all that stuff went down. At this point in time, they've gone up by a lot. This market is not done. It's getting started. Retail is not even here yet, and my goodness, they are coming. Coinbase is about to make its debut on the S&P 500. That's correct. Very exciting. Guys, one day you're going to have Apple buying Bitcoin. One day you're going to have Microsoft buying Bitcoin. One day you're going to have NVIDIA buying Bitcoin. One day you're going to have every major company on planet Earth become a Bitcoin treasury company because they understand that the fiat currency that they are denominated in is going to go to zero. Eventually, within the next 10 years, every single company on the face of the planet is going to realize that if they don't have a Bitcoin strategy, they go bankrupt because the dollar that their money is in goes bankrupt. Apple has a habit of sitting on over $100 billion in savings. Let's see what Apple's cash balance is right now. Apple cash savings Q2 2025. Let's see. I would estimate it's $150 billion. Let's see. Cash dividend to purchase up to $100 billion of its common stock. Let's see if I can find it. Let's look at their financial call. Don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Cash. Operating cash flow of $24 billion in Q2. Aha, here we go. Now let's turn to our cash position and capital return program. We ended the quarter with $133 billion in cash and marketable securities. We had $3 billion in debt maturities and increased commercial paper by 4%, resulting in $98 billion in total debt. Therefore, at the end of the quarter, net cash was $35 billion. So before debts, they had $133 billion. After debts, they have $35 billion. Where are they going to put tens of billions of dollars if they realize that they're only losing it in US dollars? Or is Apple going to put $20 billion? They're going to put it into Bitcoin. How do I know that? Because Apple's a smart company. And Apple ain't too interested in going bankrupt. Like the dollar they're holding. This is happening. It's happening. We've been telling you this for like 7.5 years. I've been in crypto a third of my life at this point. I'm a youngin', but I'm old in crypto. I've watched Bitcoin 30x, and before the next 10 years have passed, I will have witnessed a 300x on Bitcoin. When I got into Bitcoin, just so you know, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just so that you understand that I know what I'm talking about. I got into Bitcoin here, July 31st, 2017. Bitcoin was trading at $2,900. Up until this point, Bitcoin has rallied 37x. I have watched a 37x on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at $109,000 right now. That means it is up $106,000 from when I got into it. I'm a veteran in the space. I know what I'm talking about. The future is coming. Back when Bitcoin was trading at just so you know what I'm talking, that I understand this. Back when Bitcoin was trading at $10,000, right about here, I saw what was coming. So I set aside for my 5 siblings, as far as a family that I'm very close to. I set aside a half a Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin for each of them. I left it with their parents, and I said, do not give this to them until they're 21 or until they graduate college. You choose, but make absolute sure that they don't sell this anytime soon. Because one day, this 0.1 Bitcoin, which right now is worth a little under $1,000, they will have enough money to retire on. Luckily, not one of them have sold it. They all still hold it. That 0.1 Bitcoin has 10x'd. Actually, it's more like 15x since I gave it to them. It was about $4,500 at the time. It's now worth $53,000, $54,000, $55,000. It has 10x since I did that. And it's going to 100x from here. A $1 million Bitcoin is programmed in because of the way the global economy is collapsing, the way the global fiat economy is collapsing. It's coming, guys. It's coming. I entered Bitcoin when it was $1,000. Knew it was solid then. Never stopped buying or lost faith. Good for you, Shadrach Frost. You must be very wealthy by now. Trading view has Bitcoin at 109.5. Yep. Thoughts on Caspa? I like Caspa. Guys, I want you to do something. I want you to sign up for Lux Algo. And the reason is very simple. Lux Algo has been calling this for weeks, and we've been showing you that on the channel. I mean, Lux Algo literally showed us back here when Bitcoin was at $97,000 that we were about to go into a massive rally. How do I know that? Well, you see, these are the last 3 times, these vertical lines are the last 3 times that we saw this signal. A buy signal with green trend catcher right there. In fact, I'll just go ahead and turn off the rest of Lux Algo so you can see that. Let's go ahead and turn off the smart trail, turn off reversal zones, just trend catcher for a second. Just make it real easy to see. Okay. We've got our trend catcher green. See that? Buy signal comes in. Buy signal plus green trend catcher is the most powerful technical indicator that I have used in the last half of a decade. It's why I love Lux Algo so much. I actually use it. Confirm buy signal right here. Trend catcher green, massive rally. Confirm buy signal, trend catcher green, massive rally. Confirm buy signal, trend catcher green, massive rally. We saw this happen at 97. It was one of our technical confirmations that Bitcoin was about to return to all-time high and higher. Ever since then, when we got that at $97, $98, $99,000, just shy of 100, Bitcoin is up 10%. Well, the last 3 times in this bull market that's happened, Bitcoin has rallied a total of 70%, a total of 70%, and a total of 50%. If we see the same thing happen again, a 50% return at minimum off of the buy signal, a 50% return from there would be a rally up to $142,000. That's why we've said $140,000 almost baked in. So, if you want to build wealth in the cryptocurrency space, this works on every single time frame. It works on every single cryptocurrency chart. It also works on all the stock charts. Lux Algo is the single best technical indicator to get on the market. I mean that. I've used almost all of them. I'm a professional technical analyst. I've been doing this for almost a decade. Lux Algo is one of the best indicators. In fact, I believe it is the best indicator on the market. If you are looking at charts at all and you want to know what they say, what they mean, Lux Algo is one of the best tools that money can buy. So sign up by going to luxalgo.com/Jeb or by going to luxalgo.com and signing up using our coupon code Jeb, J-E-B-B, at checkout. You will be able to save 20%, which is a great deal. If you come on over to their website, it's highly professional. I know the creator of Lux Algo. He's been in crypto for a long time. He's been a long-time viewer of our channel. I'm a friend of his. He's a good guy behind the scenes, behind closed doors. He's a good guy. I know him. We're friends. He cares about his customers. He really does. He does not care about the money. He's not in this for the money. He genuinely cares. There's a good team behind Lux Algo, and that's why it's a good product, because there's an ethical, moral team building it. Sign up for the premium version. If you do the annual plan at $479 a year, you will save 40% a year. If you use coupon code JEB, J-E-B-B, you will also save another $80 or so off of that, and you can get Lux Algo Premium for under $400 a year. That is an excellent, excellent, excellent deal. Go to luxalgo.com/JEB. Hit this subscribe button that I'm about to show you. You'll create your Lux Algo account. After you do, it'll take you to a checkout page. You can put in credit card information, all that kind of stuff. And then you can use coupon code JEB. There'll be a coupon code field. Type in JEBB. You'll get 20% off. You'll help to support our channel, and you will save money. If you make one good trade, if you make one good investment, if you make one good position based off of what Lux Algo shows you, it will pay for itself and many years in the future in one go. The signals that I've gotten from Lux Algo have been worth millions of dollars if you add them all up. Massively, massively, massively impacted us. So make sure to sign up down below. I'm also going to make sure, I'm going to go in here and put a new referral link in the chat just to make sure that it's correct. I'm just going to make absolutely sure that's right. Yep. Cool. So hit that link in the description box down below. If the coupon code JEB doesn't work, make sure to use that link, because I think the coupon code JEB ought to work, but I have to check actually. But if not, that link definitely will. Cool. And that link will take you to this site right here. And when you sign up, then you will get that coupon. Cool. Let's read a little bit of chat and then we're going to wrap it out. Bitcoin is looking like it's gearing up for a break above all-time high, but it's not here yet. Good morning, sir. Heard you for the first time yesterday while driving. Loved your show. Crypto Che, good to see you. Hi. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Abednego. What about Shadrach and Meshach, huh? Transacting on the Bitcoin layer 1 network will be too expensive for the average person. I didn't buy Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. Never have, never will. Will it be used as a medium of exchange? Yeah, it will. Am I going to use it that way? No. I buy it as a store of value. And obviously, it's very good at unit of account. Medium of exchange, I still use dollars for that, because I would rather trade my fiat currency for stuff I would rather trade my short-term holding, which is fiat currency, for something I'm going to use in the short term. Right? Anything I try and hold into the long term, I hold, for the most part, in Bitcoin. We have some hedges in case things turn around in stocks and whatnot. I do buy stocks, but a lot of it's in Bitcoin. Not going to change anytime soon. Not going to change anytime soon. Bitcoin can be used as a currency, especially with Lightning Network, but it's better. It's better to use as a medium of exchange, in my opinion. Shadrach, Meshach, and oregano. You got my wife to laugh. That's how you know it's funny. No, she laughs at everything. She's the reason that I think I'm funny. All right, guys. We're going to have to wrap it out. Sign up for Lux Algo if you've not already. Guys, we got some big deals coming. Cannot wait to show you some of the things that we're bringing to this channel over the next couple of weeks. First thing that I want to let you know is that we are going to be in Las Vegas next week. Exactly a week from today, I will be standing inside the Venetian Conference Center at Bitcoin 2025, running around meeting industry executives and different sponsors, and also trying to stage a meetup with you guys. So very excited about Bitcoin 2025. Cannot wait to see you there. If you're going, make sure to follow us on Twitter. I will go ahead and put our Twitter handle in the description box down below. I got to get it switched back over to Crypto Jeb. I own that Twitter handle. I just haven't switched it. I will make sure that that is here. And let's make sure that, follow me on Twitter. Follow me on X. I'm sorry. I know I've still not gotten used to it. Follow me on X. Follow me on X. I'll be posting over there regularly. I'm really excited about it. If you enjoyed today's stream, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more content. Pray for me to find a good barber, because goodness gracious, I obviously need it. I'm going to be getting a haircut before we go to Bitcoin 2025. I'm not going to walk in there looking like this, looking like a hobo. I mean, come on. I know we're in Bitcoin, right? You know, we just dump everything into Bitcoin, so we don't leave anything for barber. But hopefully, I can scrape together 20 or 30 bucks out of the tons of money we put into Bitcoin to find a barber. And we're going to be having a lot of fun. Really appreciate you guys. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the future content. I will probably be doing more of a deep dive on Casp, but very excited about that project as well. And before we go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.